Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen, wa salatu wa salamu ala rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Welcome to episode 6 of the Salah series. One time, one of the companions, Imran bin Husayn, asked the Prophet ﷺ, he said, Imran says, I used to have bawasir, meaning he had hemorrhoids. And so he asked the Prophet ﷺ about prayer. So the Prophet ﷺ said, صلي قائما فإن لم تستطع فقاعدا فإن لم تستطع فعلى جنب. Pray standing up. Imran asked the Prophet ﷺ about prayer because he had hemorrhoids. And so the Prophet ﷺ told him, pray standing up. If you're not able to pray standing up, then pray sitting down. And if you're not able to, meaning if you're not able to pray sitting down or standing up, then pray on your side, meaning lying down on your side. So we see in this hadith the requirement in the Fard Salah, in the 5 daily obligatory prayers, for someone to pray standing up if they're able to. And if they're not able to stand up, then we'll talk about that in a minute. What does that mean? But if they're not able to stand up, then they have a concession from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to pray sitting down. And if they're not able to pray standing up or sitting down, they can pray lying down on their side. If someone's sick, or it's difficult for them to stand up, or they can't stand up altogether, then Allah does not burden them, and Allah has given them this concession, this rukhsah, to make things easier for them. Yet we see the importance of still performing our salah. We see the importance of someone still being able to, still actually performing their salah, even if they're not able to stand up. They pray sitting down or on their side. And it's important to note. It's important to note because sometimes I see a lot of people, sitting praying in the masjid, sitting down on a chair, throughout the whole salah, and even though they might be able to stand up, even though you see them do other stuff, yet they pray the whole time on a chair. And in reality, we have to be careful because it's a requirement of the obligatory salah to pray standing up if someone is able to. So people shouldn't just, I'm feeling tired, or it's just more convenient, or whatever the case may be, or it's been a long day at work, so they're just going to pray sitting down just because they think they can. In reality, that's not true. People can pray sitting down if they can't pray standing up. And so sometimes someone might not be able to bend down and make sujood, but they can perfectly stand up. So during that part, during the qiyam of the salah, they have to pray standing up. And when it comes to sujood, then they perform sujood sitting down, for example. So we should only use this concession as much as needed, actually needed, for a valid excuse, and not just take it lightly and just people pray sitting down all the time, even if they don't need to, even if they can perform salah standing up, even if they there's nothing, they're not sick, there's nothing wrong with them that prevents them from actually praying while standing up, or from performing the different parts and actions of the salah. And some of the scholars commented and explained, and they said the hardship or the difficulty that gives a person this concession, if they're not able to stand up, if it's difficult for them to stand up to the point where let's say they're sick, it would make their condition worse, or to the point where they're in so much hardship and pain and difficulty that they wouldn't even be able to focus on their salah, then in that case, that would be considered a valid excuse for someone to pray while sitting down if they're not able to stand up. But otherwise, if someone is able to, even if it's a bit difficult for someone, but they're able to pray standing up, and it wouldn't take away their khushu', they still be able to perform their salah. Let's say someone had a long day at work, they're tired, but they're praying Isha and they're sleepy and all that. That doesn't mean they can pray sitting down or lying down, on their side in bed. People shouldn't abuse the rukhas, the concessions that Allah has given us, but rather only use them as, if there's a valid need, valid excuse for that. And it's important to note as well that what is meant in this hadith is reference to the obligatory prayers, because as for the voluntary prayers, the optional prayers, then someone may, if they want, they may pray sitting down. However, the Prophet ﷺ told us that the prayer of a person sitting down is half of their prayer, meaning they get half of the reward if they pray sitting down compared to if they pray standing up, that complete reward that they would get. So it does, if someone prays the voluntary prayers, any of the extra sunnahs, someone prays them sitting down, even if they're able to stand up, someone has the option to pray them sitting down. And we know that from the sunnah of the Prophet Muhammad, that sometimes he used to pray the voluntary prayer sitting down. But the Prophet is telling us that the reward for prayer, a voluntary prayer sitting down, is half of the reward of prayer. I mean, if someone was to pray it standing up, they'd get the full reward, let's say. If they're sitting down, then they would get half of the reward. And this is, by the way, only applies to someone who's able to stand up. But for the people who have a valid excuse and they're not able to pray standing up, then when they pray sitting down, they get their full reward, because again, Allah does not burden us beyond what our capacity is. So if someone's not able to pray standing up and they pray sitting down, taking that concession, they get the full reward in both their obligatory salah and their voluntary salah. Whatever prayer they pray, they get the full reward if they perform it properly according to its conditions, of course, and with the right intention. Now, it's something to note, and we'll end on this, that, as we said, if someone prays sitting down in the voluntary salah, they have half of it, but they're able to pray standing up, then they get half of the reward. Now, it's important to note that this is a sunnah which a lot of people don't know about, or they've forgotten, that praying while sitting down. Prophet ﷺ used to, in some prayer, some voluntary prayers, used to pray sitting down, even though he's able to stand up. So sometimes it might be good for people to revive this sunnah by praying voluntary prayers while sitting down, just to revive this sunnah. And there's a reward in reviving a sunnah, in following the sunnah of the Prophet Muhammad. There's special reward in that in of itself as well. So it's good to do that sometimes, to be able to revive the sunnah, to teach the people, and show them the sunnah of the Prophet Muhammad. That might open their eyes, and they might realize, oh, so this person, is praying their sunnah while sitting down, and that might get them to learn more about the sunnah of the Prophet Muhammad, or about reviving that specific sunnah. And so, the Prophet that's established in his authentic sunnah. A person could pray sitting down and perform ruku' and sujood while sitting down. A person might recite Quran while sitting down, but then when it's time for ruku', they could get back up and recite some verses. So towards the end of whatever verses they're reciting or surah, they can stand up. They recite most of it while sitting down, then they stand up and finish reciting whatever they were reciting, and then do ruku', from a standing position. So there's room there for which, how to pray sitting down, but it's a sunnah that has a reward in reviving it, inshallah ta'ala. Barakallahu fikum, jazakumullah khaira, wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.